Jai Hind everyone. Whenever we talk about the Balakot airstrikes or the aftermath of Balakot airstrikes or some very high skilled air operations that had been conducted, the question comes to our mind that how are the ground forces able to coordinate things well? How a fighter pilot maneuvers at low altitude with efficiency? The answer to this lies with the AWACS system. Now, previously, we have seen how AWACS system have been very fruitful while conducted any major operation. And also during the Op Sindoor, you might have heard of a news wherein the Indian Air Force had essentially targeted the Pakistani AWACS system and how Pakistan was unable to maneuver its flights, how Pakistan was not even able to get airborne. Okay. Now the question comes up that how these AWACS systems are so efficient and how are these so game changers during any combat. So Indian Air Force or the entire Indian defense sector has received a fresh boost. Okay, and a few days back, the indigenously built NETRA AWACS system. So AWACS are the Airborne Early Warning and Control System. The NETRA AWACS system has secured final operational clearance, and this credit to this success goes through to the close collaboration between the Indian Air Force, the DRDO, and the complete defense manufacturing ecosystem in the country. Now, this operational readiness of our indigenous AWACS system marks a significant milestone in the Aatmanirbhar Bharat, in the advanced aerospace and the defense technologies. Now, these airborne systems, these are effectively that had got the clearance. Okay, these are like the airborne command center, and in the layman terms, they act as the eyes in the sky for India. Now, these are designed to detect incoming missiles, ships, planes from long distances. So, just imagine that the AWACS system, which is mounted over a transport aircraft, and the aircraft is flying at very high altitude, much above the flying ceilings for even the fighter aircrafts. Okay, so these AWACS system or the airborne system, they can detect any threat from long distances and can provide real-time information. So even when a fighter pilot has been navigating into the complex airspace, they act as a crucial eyes to the pilots also. Okay, so they provide real-time information and effective decision making during any crisis. And this indigenous system now has been in the works for nearly 2 decades. So it had initially got the operational clearance in 2017, and a final operation clearance now declares that basically an aircraft or any military system is fully mission ready after completing all required trials and the validations. The NETRA AWACS system is now ready for all combat and incorporation into the Indian defense mechanism, and it will be a major upgrade for India's airborne surveillance and network-centric warfare capabilities. Now, when we talk about the NETRA system, it has been derived from the Sanskrit term, okay, which means the eye, and it is India's indigenous developed airborne early warning and control system. It is designed and developed jointly by the DRDO and the Indian Air Force, okay, and can be mounted on the modified MRAR ERJ-145 aircraft, which has the Brazilian airframe. Okay, now this has been nicknamed Eye in the Sky and provides a massive surveillance footprint offering 240-degree radar coverage. So it is side mounted with the latest in class radars, as well as the technological advancements have been well up to date to undertake detection of any adversary attack. Okay, now the recent milestones, it has achieved the final operational clearance on June 25, 2026 at DRDO Center for Airborne System in Bengaluru. Okay, so global standing, now with this India joins an elite club of nations like US, Russia, Israel, and China that possess the ability to build the advanced system indigenously. Clear? So, even though the clearance has now been given, but it proves that it has been well into the operational use, and now it can be used with its full force. Okay. Now, this clearance will act as a major boost for several public listed the Indian defense companies, manufacturer also. And with this final operational clearance that has given, it will unlock a mass procurement of NETRA system and likely order book expansion for all defense manufacturers. Okay. Now, Bharat Electronics Limited is a major electronic and radar manufacturing partner for DRDO, and it has been making the critical hardware that is used for the essentially side-mounted AESA radars. Okay, now these are active electronically scanned array radars. Okay, so the BAL has been producing this. Okay, and this acts as a huge and a very useful technology in identification of friend or the enemy during the conflict or the warfare. Okay, now when we move next and we talk about the technical specifications of this. Clear? So the radar type is the AESA radars, which are developed by the LRDE and the CABs. Okay, the radar coverage, it gives 240-degree radar coverage up to 375 kilometer for the low level fighter sized targets that has been officially specified. It can detect and track 500 plus targets simultaneously. Yeah, so it has got a very clear visual of over 500 plus targets. Okay, which might be which might be targeting prominent establishments of the armed forces at the single time. Okay, now it can operate at 30,000 plus feet. Okay, so this is the beyond horizon visibility. It can endure 9 plus hours. Okay, and it can be extendable via mid-air refueling capability. So mid-air refueling capability is to the aircraft over which it is mounted. Okay, the crew that is required is 2 pilots plus 4 to 6 mission specialist operators on radars, ESM, and the communication system. And it essentially it has got prominent. The content is indigenously built. The mission computers, secure data links, okay, identification of friend and foe, okay, electronic support mechanisms, and self-protection suites, and they all have been made by the DRDO itself. Clear? So it is designed to detect incoming projectiles, ships, aircraft at long ranges, and it can easily differentiate between a friend from an enemy and directly friendly fighters in the real time. So it offers real-time battlefield management. Clear? So around 250 to 500 plus kilometer detection and 240 plus degree radar coverage to track the hostile aircraft, drones, as well as the missiles. Clear? Now it will be using the Brazilian made Embraer EMB 145 aircraft as its platform on which it is mounted with the AESA radars. Clear? So this system also encompasses a sophisticated suite of mission equipment, including the most prominent the AESA radars. Okay, IFF, the identification of friend and foe, mission computers, secure communication network, electronic support mechanism, and computer support measures as well. Clear? Now, when we compare it with a ground radar system, you will find that unlike the ground radars, an AWACS operates at very high altitude, which allows it to see farther over terrain and provides a broader picture of any aircraft or a drone or any other airborne activity that is targeted towards us. Okay, moreover, it can also share real-time information with the fighter jets, ground stations, and other military assets that have been operating in the similar area during the same time of the conflict. Okay, now when we move ahead the development, so it essentially has been a 30 plus year saga. Okay, now this is something that has not been developed overnight. Okay, and the Indian Armed Forces previously they had also been operating the AWACS system, but they were imported systems. But now with this indigenous capabilities, this will be a huge boost to the Aatmanirbhar Bharat capabilities. And at this moment of time, when we have understood that every war does require the quality along with quantity, then this Aatmanirbhar Bharat boost will always come handy in any conflict or any global situation wherein we need dominance in the aerospace. Okay, along with this essentially had been started in 1983s. Okay, so initial project was sanctioned under Prime Minister Indira Gandhi ji. Okay, and then we have seen that how gradually this system has evolved itself. Okay, so this system has got very strategic significances also. Okay, now, from journey to this eye in the sky, it is not a story of overnight success. Clear? As we can talk about, it is a journey of blood, sweat, and tears, and unimaginable sacrifices of the personnel working for the DRDO, Indian Air Force, as well as the other defense manufacturers. Clear? So we can see that it all started in 1983. Then we undertook a great major setback in 99. Okay, so it was in 748. Avro had crashed near Chennai. Okay, and all 8 on board Air Force and DRDO personnel died in this. Okay. Moreover, moving forward to 2004, the project had resurrected with renewed governmental approvals. Okay. The first flight of the modified Embraer 145 took place in 2011-2012. Then in 2015, the initial operational clearance was given. In 2017, 3 NETRA aircrafts were inducted progressively into the Indian Air Force. So, in and around the Balakot airstrikes time, we know that the NETRA system had been working successfully. Okay, and it was in 9 that the final operational clearance or the full combat readiness has been declared for these NETRA system. Okay, so we have seen that even though the country has faced various failures, but India did not give up. Okay, in 2004, the project was resurrected. By 2015, we got the initial clearances, and it is by 2026 that final operational clearance has been given to us. Okay, now when we talk about how NETRA works, clear? So in a basic scenario, you can think of NETRA as a chess grandmaster. Okay, so it is like a chess player which is sitting at 30,000 feet above the board. Okay, and they have been seeing every piece, every move, and every trap even before it might happen. Clear? So it is basically a game changer. Okay, and this is essentially what we call a force multiplier. And just imagine that a single Su-30 on its own is dangerous, but when you connect a fighter aircraft like Su-30 being under direct guidance of NETRA system, okay, he can see enemy missiles coming from behind. He can be guided to exactly where the enemy is hiding, and he can avoid the pilot of the aircraft can anytime avoid threats even before they lock on to him. Clear? So NETRA is scanning everything. Okay, from high level targets, okay, to the low level threats that are also coming towards us. Clear? So we can see that it can detect everything from drones to helicopters to cruise missile, and it then fuses the data on its own sensors, other ground radars, and even satellites, and it relays a clear picture to the IACCS nodes. Okay, the integrated air command and control system nodes which are working. Okay, and they are the real-time communication systems. Clear? So basically, when we talk about the NETRA working, it is something like in short, it can connect the dots so our fighters do not have to fly blindly before the enemy. Clear? Next, if we have a look upon the strategic significance of this. Clear? So this has got strategic significance, and previously also I had told you that it is nothing short of a force multiplier. Clear? Now when we talk about this, India is only major power facing a two-front conventional threat. China on the eastern side and Pakistan on the western side. So NETRA will now act as a thread that will stitch the entire defense across the two fronts. Okay, and strategically it is huge. Okay, it will be a constant watch. So it is critical for persisting surveillance along the LAC and LOC. So it will provide 24/7 situational awareness. it will hold immense potential for the naval variant, which will improve the surveillance over the Indian Ocean region. For the nuclear and missile defense, it will contribute to India's layered air defense by tracking ballistic as well as the cruise missiles trajectory towards us. It will act as a key node in the IACCS. Okay, so IACCS, I have told you that these are the integrated air command and control systems. Okay, so they are the one who are integrating all information, and then they are relaying the single specific information to the specific personnel concerned who has to take the final decision, final call. Okay, now we can see that it will reduce our foreign dependence. So this moves India away from reliance on foreign platforms like the Israeli Falcon that has been placed over the Russian IL-76, and it will ensure the operational availability under geopolitical sanctions. Now, this will be a huge boost to Aatmanirbhar Bharat and a crown jewel in India's quest for the self-reliance in high-end defense technology. So, even though we have been operating this, but previously our AWACS systems were mounted over the Russian IL-76, okay, and they had been imported with the Israeli technological support. Clear? So this is basically a desi eye. Okay, and if we compare it to the global giants, so let me give you a very clear analogy in this. Okay, now if we compare it with Falcon that has been made by Israel and also being used by India, so it is placed over IL-76, long range 360-degree coverage, but heavier and foreign dependent. When we talk about the E3 Sentry, okay, the US made, it is deployed over Boeing 707 and it is mature global standards, massive range, but very high operational cost. Okay. Now, when we talk about the Chinese KJ500, it is over Y9 and it is produced in mass numbers, mass production capability and domestic supply chain. Yeah. But as we already know, the Chinese systems and the Chinese platforms have not been beneficial for the users that are relying upon them, like Pakistan. Okay, and Pakistan had suffered badly due to the use of Chinese platforms in the Operation Sindoor as well. Okay, so one thing we can understand that this production is not just cost effective for us, but it will give us strategic autonomy to us. Okay, and in a wartime scenario, it is nothing less than hitting a gold mine. Okay, next, if we see the operational impact and its challenges. Okay, so operationally it has been used. Okay, so NETRA has not been waiting for any bureaucratic paperwork to prove itself. It was already in combat before the final operational clearance was even signed for it. Clear? So we can see the real world impact has already been created by NETRA. Okay, during the Balakot airstrikes, as I told you in the starting, so it had provided a sustenance surveillance to the Indian Air Force. During the Doklam crisis, the China-India standoff in 2020, it had deployed along the LAC to monitor aerial movements. And in 2025, during the Operation Sindoor, it has again played a critical role in mapping the enemy battlefield positions and providing early warnings to the Air Force fighter aircrafts. Clear? So we can see how effectively it has worked. Okay, but as of now, there were a few challenges that we had been facing. Clear? So even though if we compare us with others, China has got a dozen of AWACS. Pakistan has a few out of which they few were destroyed by us. Clear? Now India has gone its homegrown AWACS. Okay, and it is a morale booster for us. Clear? So we are ready to manufacture n numbers for ourselves, and also we can now manufacture it for our friend countries. Clear? So in a broader geopolitical context, now NETRA will act as a equalizer for us. Clear? So currently we only had 3 aircrafts that were operational. Clear? So ideally India needed at least 6 to 10 for full 24/7 coverage across the both fronts, and the Air Force plans to address this with the MK1A orders. The ERJ-145 is a regional jet and it carries fewer operators and has slightly high endurance and heavy in comparison to the IL-76 platforms. Now, the FOC that has been included, it includes the integration of indigenous ESM and the radar warning receivers, which was a challenge that had delayed full clearance, but it is also now overcome. Clear? So we can see that this is something that has got a huge impact over the self-sustenance of the country. Clear? So herein we can also see that it will also change the geopolitical game. Clear? So this is a very exciting angle. Now this Netra has got an export potential also, and under the Make in India initiative, it will be lighter, it will be cost effective. Okay, and these are perfect to be even exported to all the countries in the southeastern Asian as well as the African countries. Clear? So the countries, the smaller air forces that have been looking to upgrade themselves, okay, AWACS, this Netra AWACS will be a huge game changer for them. Clear? Now just imagine if we combine the Netra system with systems like S-400, the Rafale jets, the BrahMos missiles, and the advanced medium combat aircraft. Now it will create the most required and the most prominent modern war fighting network for us. Clear? So this is something that a modern war fighting machinery that has been created for us. Clear? So we can now basically understand that Netra is much more than a radar on plane. It is a testament on Indian resilience, a journey that had started in early 80s, okay, faced a tragedy in 99, and against all the odds we are now flourishing ourselves and we are touching the skies in 2026. Clear? So it gives India the first look, the first shoot capabilities, and it now means that our pilots will never be surprised and our borders will always be watched. Okay, all these strategic decisions can be taken up in the real time and can be conveyed in the real time system to its final operators. Clear? So we can understand that India has now moved from being a buyer of defense technology to a confident creator. Okay, and now India can further sleep, okay, a little safer because of this Netra system. Clear? So as the Air Force, the deputy chief who was present at the time of final operational clearance, okay, the Air Force Deputy Chief has very nicely laid it in his words, and he says that Netra is the eye that never sleeps. Okay, so please do let me know how do you perceive this development. Along with this, on our GS Foundation batches in the P2I batches for 27 and 28. Okay, it is a limited period offer wherein we are offering 50% off plus double validity on our all P2I batches based upon the smart model. You just need to use the code SRM Live, and this sale will end on 30th June. Okay, so just a day more. Do not waste any moment further. Subscribe to these P2I batches and achieve your dream with flying colors. So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.